to our LinkedIn Live session, and today we're joined by Ben from Project Green, who's going to talk to us all things about YouTube. Ben, if I just ask you, can you just introduce yourself, tell the people about your background, the sort of people that you work with?
So my background is I am a filmmaker. I'm actually more of an editor. That is more a film editor, and I had some background working in Hollywood and stuff like that. It sounds very glamorous. It was not. It's just basically a series of porta cabins, and that was very good fun. And then I had to come back. I thought my life would be stateside. I was sort of banking on that, and then something happened to my father, so I had to come back, and he tragically passed away very suddenly. So I had to come back to the UK, save the farm my mum was on, well, she still is actually, and market myself around there. So I did some BBC News stuff for what, honestly, most things I've been involved in, and that's great. But yeah, it just makes my sort of CV and my background very complex, to be honest.
So why YouTube? What got you into YouTube?
Yeah, it's a good question. See, I've always been fascinated by YouTube, and I was doing a podcast, which I still am doing, called Our Week in Video, which is all about freelancers and their day-to-day lives, because a lot of us freelancers, we know that no 2 days are the same, so we're just talking about that. It's like they call it, the Americans call it a water cooler type podcast. And within that, I wanted to get a guy on to talk about rigging up cars, because rigging up cars is quite a specialist thing. Anyway, he couldn't come on, and eventually I made friends with him on social media, and he said, oh, I need some help editing for this YouTube channel that I'm working on. It's called Fully Charged Show, and that was at the time a very it was a growing channel. It had the host Robert Llewellyn, who was Crichton, Red Dwarf, Scrap Heap Challenge. So I worked for him for 6 years. It turned out that Mark, the guy who was doing it for a long time, it was just me and Mark, just making a video, and it was very much like shall we release a video this week? Yeah, let's put that one out. There wasn't really a plan. And Mark very sadly left, and so I was de facto in charge, basically, of the whole video side of the business. And the main boss, not Robert, another chap called Dan, came in, and he wanted to quadruple the output of the channel. So it was my job to make that happen. So I made that happen, and the channel grew from when I first joined at 265,000 subscribers. I made another channel, made a podcast, and grew the channels to over 1 million subscribers.
Wow.
And millions of plays a month. And within that, there was other things like getting new presenters, talent spotting, honestly, anything and everything.
Well, you've had a great array through the career, isn't it? You can turn your hands to lots of things.
It's been genuinely fascinating having that top-down understanding of what it is you've got to do, and knowing what's best for the channel. This is what I always say to people, is you've got to make sure that you know what's best for your channel. And that, a lot of times, I talk about tone. So the tone of what it is you're creating has got to be on point. And I think there was a presenter who left Fully Charged, and we didn't fill his boots for 18 months, almost 2 years, because we couldn't find the right one. And anyway, I saw this one guy. I was just checking around YouTube, saw this one guy, and I saw him. I said, he's the guy, go and get him. And we got him, and now that's gone from, he's now one of the main presenters for the channel. In fact, I think probably the main presenter. So
amazing.
Yeah, so it's really
amazing journey. Really interesting. So why should businesses be looking at YouTube as part of their marketing strategy?
Okay, so businesses should be looking at this very, very thoroughly, because we've all heard YouTube's second biggest search engine. Yeah, it is. So we can't afford to not be on it. So that's just fact. That's what you've got to be on it. But it's about how you appear online. I think for me, with the Fully Charged show, when I first went there, it was just basically filming bits and pieces. There wasn't really, we were getting Google AdSense, and Patreon was the main source of revenue. And but once they realized these videos were doing really well, they thought they'll do a live event off the back of it. And then they did more live events and more and more and more. And so now they are generating millions because of YouTube. But they've done it they've still got the Google AdSense, the Patrons, the other things, but there's a multiple revenue stream now coming in. And without going on about them too much, it's more about, I always say, whenever I have any client, you've got to have a business plan for YouTube. You've got to have it for you, or any social media, quite frankly. You can't let video creation be a lost leader forever. You understand it's got to be maybe a little bit to start off with, things like that. You've got to realize that it can't be. It's not even just a monetary loss leader. It's a time sucking thing, which is and those two things are the most valuable things. In terms of, you want more to do, you want more home time, you want more. So what I've come up with Project Green is to try and say to people, look, there's two avenues. We can either give you best practice and say, this is what you probably need to do in order to resonate with your audience, to get more subscribers, if that is your business model, or we can do it for you. We basically say to you, look, we'll probably need you 2 days a month, and we'll sign off a content plan for each month, and then we just make your stuff for you. You just sign it off, basically. And so those are the two ways of doing it. And the clients that I'm working with at the moment, they've all got very different business models. I've got a list of things which, to give you some idea, Henny, of what I've looked at before with some clients, if you'll let me. So obviously, so a lot of the business plans are, and again, I'm just going to list these off, but just to give you some idea of the variety of things. So we've got Google AdSense, fairly standard. It fluctuates hugely. I remember at one point we were earning about £18,000 a month, and then it dropped down during. I'm sure every live thing you get onto, Henny, there's people always talk about the pandemic. But so when the pandemic happened, we went down to about £3,000 a month, which is still a lot of money, but it's nowhere near enough to keep the lights on. So be wary of that with Google AdSense stuff. Patreon and YouTube members, so people can basically support you monetarily via those two platforms. Those are the two main ones. Different rates there. Patreon's a bit cheaper, YouTube's more expensive, but YouTube members are within the platform. So that's quite a good way of doing it. Obviously, you can get sponsorship of episodes. There's a couple of clients who I work for who literally just do one of those annoying adverts, which you don't know is an advert sometimes. Sometimes you do, most of the time you do, but sometimes you don't. So that's not just the adverts that YouTube puts on in various places. That's one that's built in as well. So that's one. That's two people who are doing that, and that's working quite well for them. Affiliate links. I see a lot about affiliate links on Instagram, things like that. They can be very, very powerful done correctly.
I'm massively into affiliate marketing.
Yeah, exactly.
It's huge. It's absolutely hidden.
But you need a voice, right? You need a voice.
Yeah.
How do you get a voice? You've got to create video content. I know people bang on about video content this one, but we're banging on about it because it's relevant.
I think the video's absolutely relevant, and I think that's been proven time and time again. I think one of the things that I hear from clients is, what do I film? I don't know what to say about my business, or I hate being in front of the camera. There's lots of, and if I invest all of this time, how do I know that I'm going to get a return on investment? So those tend to be the sort of friction points that stop them from coming in. So what would you say about sort of starting out? How would they sort of think about what content to produce?
Well,
get over themselves getting in front of the camera.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting. I do a course that I'm running at. I've just actually signed up this morning, Henny, you'll be glad to know, at with Stroud Growth Hub, I think Gloucester as well, called The Fear of getting over the fear factor of YouTube, basically, which is, I think, I think you gave me the title name for it, actually.
Oh, well, you're welcome.
So thank you. That's all right. Thank you. But it goes it's basically talking about how to get over it. What are the main issues you will encounter? And as I say, it's one of those things where I do presenter training as well. I talk to people about how they do it. And the thing is, though, a lot of times I'm working with a presenter at the moment who's really good at the off the cuff stuff. You can do pieces to camera, so we just talk to the lens and all that sort of stuff, and that's absolutely fine. That's intimidating a lot of times. But if that's just one person, just up there, it's one person, not many, that's a lot easier. Talk to your friend, because ultimately people on YouTube consider them as your friends, and you'll get a good community. It's all about finding your tribe, isn't it? Really, if you can find your tribe in whatever you do, you're going to be successful, because people will trust you, and then the affiliates can come in, the sponsorships can come in, the courses, the events, all that stuff. As long as you have an element of authenticity. And do you know what? A lot of times, video. Do you know what YouTube was when it first started out? Do you know what YouTube was?
No, I don't think I do.
It was a dating website.
No, was it really? That's fascinating.
In 2005, YouTube was a dating website, and it failed. It failed, but it was like a hi, I'm John, and you should come and you come and see me. I'm great, or whatever. I don't know. I'm my
great video.
Yeah. You see, we all fail. You see, but it started as that, but it had all the assets to be something. And then actually they realized that people were uploading, I'll say cats, but it wasn't cats. People were uploading what they were doing rather than just their thing, because they were a bit sort of shy about it or whatever. And then they realized, the two guys, I think Chad and Steve, their names were, basically said, oh, let's retool this. So it took them only a year. They retooled it, and they sold it to Google, now Alphabet, for 16 billion. Wow. 16 billion.
Makes you wish you'd come up with the idea yourself, doesn't it, really?
I know. Yeah. And now YouTube makes 32 billion a year.
Gosh.
So I mean, they're not crying in their sleep. But
and also the young are using it now. I always talk about how brands need to look at the next generation. The next generation are consuming content in a very, very different way to the way that we are. So now when we're looking at websites, that sort of things, we're saying, how can people get in contact with you without having to pick up a telephone? Because you can forget it. Anyone that's under a certain age, even though they've been born with a telephone in their hands, are not going to use it. And I also find that when people are doing business with people, I know people with us have to see us 6 or 7 times before they trust us and feel that we can help them in some way. And actually being online and being up front and center is a really good way of giving people those no risk contact with you, because you don't know that they're looking at you. And actually by the time they speak to you, they think of you as like a long lost friend. Exactly. You haven't got a clue who they are.
Exactly. Yeah.
But you've warmed them up by doing it.
Yeah.
One of the ways I'm with those people that getting in front of camera I don't like. So for me, this is one of my ways of getting in front of camera. I can interview someone and talk to people.
Exactly. You found your niche.
And it's not just about me.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. And do you know what? A lot of times in videos now, I'll just go back to the YouTube failing at being a dating website. So YouTube is built on falling forward, basically. So a lot of times with the clients I work with, I will leave some of their outtakes in, because it's hilarious. It gives that air of humility, authenticity. There's something in there which everybody knows that we're not word perfect. I mean, so let's just be ourselves as best as we can. It's easy for me to say be yourself and all that sort of stuff, but I'm not often in front of camera. I do my podcast every week and things like that, and we've only just started filming it for YouTube, ironically enough. But it's taken us 11 years to get to that point. But I completely understand it, but you've got to find how you can do it and be comfortable with it. Some people just won't be comfortable with it, and that's fine. But you can make faceless YouTube channels. The only thing I would say is the whole AI thing. People are thinking about, oh, I can just do AI voices and images and stuff. That's fine. You might get a few views on them, and that's not a problem. But it takes out that humanity.
Yeah.
People buy from people ultimately, don't they? So people don't buy from machines necessarily. They need something to have interactivity with, and video is the best way of doing it, I'm afraid.
I don't disagree, and I think actually you're absolutely right. Having that vulnerability makes it more authentic.
Yeah.
So even when you're making mistakes or you get something wrong, that's okay. I think so often people, I mean, I never watch these things back. I've no intention because it would make me cringe 1,000 times over. But and when I had to do some videos and get someone to look at them for me, I had to make some of my staff members do it. I was like, no, I'm not watching it. You can just tell me if there's something wrong in it. I think that we overthink it. We're more critical of ourselves than other people are of us. But ultimately, there's a huge amount of money in people's knowledge. They've spent years building up this knowledge. They've got something to impart. Video is a great way of doing that. I think one of the things, the other sticky points that businesses have is how do they monetize it? I've got a friend who I won't say because I've not asked their permission, who's making thousands off a tie video each month, and it's just how do you tie a tie? And literally you wouldn't think that that would make lots of money, but it does make lots of money for them. So I'm wondering how businesses who maybe aren't in e-commerce, maybe B2B, how do they monetize what they're doing on YouTube?
So going back to that list, I only got part way through it because that list is huge. So
Sorry.
I got down. That's right. I got down to affiliate links, and there. So obviously we know about that. So businesses can easily tie something into if they're selling a product. The one thing I would say, because a lot of people say, oh well, yeah, it's fine doing a video, but we can never see what's the word, like where it came from, where the sale came from. Well, on the end of your video, just put like you can actually get 10% off if you use this word here on screen. So therefore you can start to see it working or not. So have a little bit of tracking data in there as a coupon code or something. And that's always a good way to keep track of it, and then you'll be able to see straight away whether it's working or not.
And QR codes, that's another thing that we use.
Yeah, exactly.
So you can see how many clicks that got.
Exactly. Yeah. Sorry, I'm getting sidetracked. I get so sidetracked. There's so much to talk about. The other one is events. Obviously, I worked for a company that pivoted their business to events, and I say they earn millions now. Their revenues in the millions now because of it. And before,
so how does that work on YouTube? I don't know about that.
It's just promoting your own events within whatever sector you're doing. And it's quite interesting because the company I worked for before, they're sort of thought of as the market leader in the industry for communication with what they're doing. And it's because of the YouTube channel, it's because of the events. They're suddenly, well, not suddenly, over the space of 5 years or so, they're now up there with being spoken about with huge events. So they've done the London Excel, they go around the world, Australia, Canada, America, all of those places. So you can do events, even if it's small ones. And actually, one client I'm working with at the moment, we are working on a series of, it's like a mini series for YouTube. And then at the end of it, there is a studio episode, which is held at their showroom. And it's just to get people through that door, because suddenly they are very much an active audience member. They are potentially, and they've said, look, even if we sell 1.5 vehicles, we've made a profit. And, so it's things like that. So, and it's more, and it's just a bit of PR for them. It can really work well with that sort of stuff. So it's a global thing, dependent on what you want to What do you
And
want
it
to
can be
show off?
reused, it can be used
Exactly.
in email marketing, within your
Exactly.
blogs, on
Yeah.
your
Yeah. Yeah.
website, all of those things. I think they're not,
Mm.
most people think of these things as like a one-time thing, but
Yeah.
chat will be uploaded to our blog once we've done it.
Exactly.
We'll send it out in email newsletters. It will
Exactly.
go up on our LinkedIn
Yeah.
newsletter.
Yeah.
So
If
there's
you're not,
multiple ways in which to use
yeah.
one piece of
If
material that you take time to do.
exactly, if you're not repurposing, there is no point. Because, and it's really interesting. Obviously, I'm in touch with pretty much all the social medias. I know that if you upload the same video on Shorts, YouTube Shorts, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all of that stuff. So I know TikTok will get the initial views. YouTube Shorts takes longer, but you'll get more passive coming in. Instagram is sort of in the middle. It's really good. So actually, you can't just rely on one platform. Actually, YouTube Shorts, we haven't even touched on that, but YouTube Shorts is going to be absolutely massive, especially when they get rid of TikTok in the States and inevitably over here as well. But that's another thing. Going back to the list again, sorry, there's merchandise as well. There's a guy who I'm doing work for at the moment who does what does he do? It's I think he's like a plant reseller or something along those lines, and he's got a proper personality, and he's got some of his slogans just on t-shirts and things like this, and he's not generating much at the moment, but he can see it's gone up just because he's constantly putting it out there, and so he's just doing that. It's not all about your brand logo, because nobody really wants to do that. Nobody wants to, they want to see something which is relevant to that person who's on that channel looking. So they want relevancy, and they've used that with a Shopify thing and whatever. So it's been quite easy. Talks, obviously talks. If you're on YouTube enough and social media in general, and you'll know this, honey, you get invited to talks. You get invited, and that can be a thing. If you've written a book, you'll be seen as and I hate this word with a passion, a thought leader in your industry, and then you get invited to potentially paid gigs and the revenue off the back of that and the opportunities of that, I should say. And then, of course, you're selling a product or service. If you're just making a product, not just making a product, if your videos are there to make a product to sell, obviously you can do that, and you can again have that tracking data at the end of the video, potentially to say where you came from, how they saw it, and every opportunity that I can see within the YouTube space brings in revenue. It does. It's just how you do it, and the tone of how you do it. The old team at Fully Charged, they will know about almost every day. I said, is the tone right? Is the tone what we're after? You used to get sick and tired of me saying it, quite honestly, but and I got tired of saying it. But we had a very nuanced way of looking at what we were looking at, and actually a lot of times I said, going back to the thing about being authentic and leaving the outtakes in. Well, a lot of people on YouTube, and please, if there's one thing I want people to take away from this, you don't need to be right. You need to be entertaining. That is the main thing. The amount of times I see YouTube channels and they just spout facts about what it is they're looking at, and they've done their research and it's all absolutely right and they spent ages doing it. You then suck out the personality if you do that, because you're just reading a list of, it's got 250 brake horsepower, it's got it's dull. You need, and if you say it's got 200-ish horsepower, who cares? Doesn't mean making a difference. If you start to talk like that, there's two factors. One, it brings out your inner personality, and two, the people who do care fall into your trap. And they'll say, actually, I think you'll find that he's got 400 for it. Yeah, and so I'm sorry, all YouTubers are in that voice to me. But that's the point. If you do that, you get the people tapping away, clicking away. They are giving your video engagement. And YouTube doesn't care where the engagement comes from. It doesn't understand it. What it does understand. All YouTube wants is for your platform to have long watch times and to stay on the platform.
Mm.
You care where they go to next.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
And it's up to us to lead them back there. You know, I think
Exactly.
so often people forget to mention where they, you know, there's no, without having a structured plan to these, as you say,
Yeah.
there's, you can miss stuff. You can forget to say, please go and visit so and so's website,
Yeah.
or please go to here to go and get this.
Mhm.
It's just lost in that sea
Yeah.
of,
Yeah.
you know, and you've done a video for what purpose
Yeah.
exactly? We
Yeah.
always go, we need goals, and there needs to be part of a strategic plan
Exactly.
moving forward. And although we don't do YouTube, which is why we connected, you know, because you do, is that it needs to form part of that plan moving forwards,
It
because
does.
videos are going to become more and more a central part of what we
Yeah.
how people consume content. That is what this generation do. They grew up
Yeah.
watching YouTube. They didn't
Exactly.
watch BBC or ITV or the 3 channels that we got when we were growing up. You're probably a
Yeah.
bit younger than me, but
I always
you
had
know,
4, but yes, yeah.
well, there
The
you go.
5th came
Show
along.
my
Yeah.
age. But that's the truth, isn't it? And my kids, they don't watch it. They
No.
either watch Netflix, they watch
No.
YouTube, and that's kind of it, or
Yeah.
Disney, or one of the
Yeah.
others. And that is the generation that,
It's
if we
on
want our
demand. But
companies to last, are the ones that we need to
mm,
be tilting that content to. And the reason why they've done it is it's easy to consume. We're
mm.
lazy consumers now. We've
Oh
got the
yeah.
one click through Amazon, we've got all of that. Being able to consume knowledge in a way that we're listening to as we're going along in the car, or we can watch it while we're having a cup of tea in the morning. It's easy, and we're creating our fan
Yeah.
base, and we're
Yeah.
learning from our fan base. We'll get that business moving
Hmm.
forwards. Ben, this is one of these huge topics. We could talk forever,
Oh
but
man, could I
thank you
ever? Yeah.
so much for coming on, and we'll definitely do another one, maybe a bit more in depth about how to start your first one or something. But
Yeah,
it's been
exactly.
really great.
Yeah.
Thank you
You
so
too.
much.
No
If
problem at all.
anyone wants to get in touch or work with you, do you want to give them a little bit? I've just put your QR code up
Thank
so they
you.
can go to
Yeah.
your
Thank you.
website. Tell them how they might be able to do that.
So yeah, I say the company that I'm running is called Project Green. So it's all about organic growth, basically. We did things in a very organic way, and obviously I'm on LinkedIn, and there's also, I've got 2 podcasts. One's called Our Week in Video, and the other one is called the YouTube Tea Break. So it's basically little 15-minute nuggets of information that I'm getting directly from YouTube to help my clients. Actually, it's more of a client tool. I'll be perfectly honest with you. It doesn't get the listens that I want. Everything else does, but that's a really good resource just to give people a shot in the arm. Say that don't worry about it. You can do it. Let's just show how it's done. Yeah.
And for local businesses, you also mentioned the Growth Hub. You're doing some stuff within Gloucester and Stroud.
Yes,
Is
yeah,
that right?
yes. Stroud, definitely. I think Gloucester's on the horizon. But yes, I've literally signed up this morning for the Growth Hub. I say I'm fairly new to being freelance again, so Henny's been very kind to sort of direct me in what to do. But,
You're doing it on your own. It didn't need me to do
you
it.
know what I mean. You know what I mean. But yeah. So yeah, I'm just doing lots of consulting. And doing these courses as well, which is really good. So I think I've got a workshop on the 2nd of July, I think.
Fab.
So
Well, look,
yeah.
you're hugely talented. So for anyone who is wanting to go, please go down there and go. I'm going to sign up too, because I really want to come along and learn a bit more. Thank you so much, Ben. I really
No problem at all.
appreciate it.